This is Nothing Coherent. I'm Brandon.
I'm Zach. And Ryan's here.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
Ryan is back.
Back in black. Oh, wait, no.
Hopefully.
Back in black.
Okay, so today is our 2019 talk. We're going to just spend our time doing our list. And so today we're just going to we'll talk about movies and a little bit of games. But we're mostly going to focus on the movies. We're also going to do our
Oscar
we're going to list off our Oscar predictions, so you guys can you hear them. We all did one of our theater chains, the Alamo Drafthouse, does a red carpet challenge where there's a bunch of prizes they give out. So all of us filled out one of those, so that we all have something, and we're doing the points based off of that. So it's not just if you got 6 things right and somebody else got 5. It's your score depends on that. So
we'll have to decide a punishment later. We haven't come up with one yet.
We have not. We will also, hopefully today, if we have enough time, we're going to talk about cats at the end. But if not, it's fine. We'll save that for next week.
That's the whole movie, Ryan.
Because we want to talk about the Fast 9 trailer with a huge reveal, and I want to talk about One Piece, the Netflix series.
Can I just go ahead and have a spoiler here?
Yeah.
Cats is my number 1.
Yeah, best movie of the year.
I knew it.
Maybe
I knew Ryan was a furry. I knew it.
But we're gonna talk. We're gonna kick this off with our honorable mentions. We'll just take some time, and
I have a lot.
Yeah, I have a list of all 40 movies that I for sure saw.
We saw like almost 40 apiece.
Well, I definitely saw more than that. I started the Letterboxd.
Yeah,
I use the app, and
I need to start doing that.
I've been keeping track now, so I can at the end of the year be like, okay, I'm ready for this. So, no order, because I don't have an order
for these either.
After 10, it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, they're kind of in an order, but I'll start lower, I guess. So I gotta figure this out. So we're gonna start with. Man, this is gonna be controversial. Here we go. So 38 for me is It Chapter 2.
Okay.
Really like the movie. I actually think it's really good. Yeah. And like I said, all of these could be interchangeable. All 12 through 39 could move around at any point. It really just depends on the day. But then there was Lego Movie Part 2.
Yep.
Really liked the movie. Thought it was really good. Thought it was a good continuation of the first one. I think it came a few years too late. That's why it didn't do as well.
What were they working on before that? I can't remember.
They did Lego Batman, and Phil Lord and Chris Miller were doing Spider-Verse.
That's right. They were doing Spider-Verse.
And Solo, which, yes, because Solo came after Lego Movie Part 1. After that is Jumanji, the next level. I really like this movie. It's not great, but it's such a fun movie. It was such a fun, December movie.
Right.
That, I think Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle was a big surprise, and so trying to recapture that magic, I was a little worried about, but, Anafiqua and that, and, Danny DeVito, The Rock playing Danny DeVito, I thought all that was fun, and it works.
I think it really showcases just how good The Rock can be as an actor, actually.
Yeah.
Because he played Danny DeVito in the last one, and who did he play in the one?
He just played a teenage boy.
He just played a teenage boy.
I mean, he has a name, but Spencer. Yeah. But it's not an actor. He's playing Danny DeVito in Kevin Hart playing
Danny Glover.
Yeah, I almost said Donald Glover. Was surprisingly really good.
Yeah.
But that's the unfortunate thing I said is it's surprising that Kevin Hart's best role is him playing somebody else.
I mean, it's whatever.
After that was How to Train Your Dragon 3. I think this movie's a 10 out of 10. I legitimately think this is a perfect movie, but it's just not it just doesn't crack my top 10. But granted, if you told me at the beginning of the year that was the case, I wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah.
Because I was I just don't know how something's going to dethrone this. But
I still have not seen any of those movies. I want to watch them so bad.
Animation-wise and story-wise, I think they're just such a almost perfect trilogy. Yeah. And they just look better and better. Mm-hmm. After that is Us.
I love that movie.
I do too. And the first viewing, I hated it. Yeah. And there's still things I have problems with.
The ending is still kind of weird.
I wish it was called. Well, I think there's legitimate problems with the movie, the rules the movie set. Yeah. I wish it was a Twilight Zone episode. I wish this was because then I'd be willing to give some suspension of disbelief on some things, when they talk about the. Oh my gosh, what are they called? The tethered? How they all do the same thing as the people above. Right. But
then
the one breaks free. Well, why is that the case? Well, then how do the rest break free? How does any of that work?
Right. Do you think he'll do a sequel?
No, I doubt it. If he didn't do a Get Out sequel,
Get Out sequel, yeah.
Next is The Lighthouse.
I still haven't seen that.
This movie's not for everyone.
Mhm.
It's
I've heard
shot
that.
really well. William Dafoe is incredible, and
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson shows like he's got acting chops. I think it's really unfortunate everyone who's mad about him being cast as Batman and not seeing any of this stuff.
Yeah, the only thing they have to go on is Twilight.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair because he did Harry Potter before that and he was fine in that. Ryan's over here.
Okay, I'm reading an article right now that has their top 14, and Dark Phoenix is one of them.
Yeah. Oh, that's a movie I didn't even put on this list.
I didn't. No,
I forgot that came out last year.
I didn't forget, but I'm very angry.
Well,
Um,
I'm never using this. It's Wired.com, so it's a pretty big
okay.
website. So
John Wick Chapter 3 is
Yeah.
another one that didn't crack my top 10. Great action movie. Love this series.
Yeah.
It falls in the category of I wish this was the ending.
Yeah, it's
And-
more of the same, and they're just doing another one. and
Yeah, I
I'm
feel like this was another setup to something. And there's things that happen in this that maybe they'll pay off in the next one.
Yeah,
But just where we are in this one, I'm like,
there were scenes in the movie where I was like, these guys could have killed you if they wanted to. Why they didn't, I don't know.
next is Pokemon.
Detective Pikachu.
I wanted to love this movie way more than I did.
Yeah.
I think it's really good. I think it's the best video game movie we've ever gotten,
Yeah.
which isn't saying much.
It's probably going to be the best one we have for a while, unless Sonic just comes out of nowhere and surprises us.
We'll see.
I don't think that it will.
But
But-
I'm glad they held to doing what they thought was the best option of
Yeah.
like making this like a Saturday morning cartoon and
Mhm.
making more like an episode of the anime mixed with this detective
Yeah.
element. I wish it was better, and I'm hoping that with the success it had, that we see a Red and Blue movie and it's more natural.
Yeah.
And I think that could have a breakout success.
We'll see.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's on my list, so
Oh, okay, so we'll end it there. Honey Boy, thought was pretty good.
that's a
but
very good movie.
Didn't love it as much as everyone
The
else.
ending is still a little...
Weird.
It leaves a little bit more to be desired for me, but I think it's a good film. It's also very sad, so...
Yeah, Richard Jewell is another one that I thought was really good.
Mhm.
Which I said to Zach, and so I'm going to move it here. Just Mercy is high. I think it's great, but I put these two in the same category of
Mhm.
these are both honorable mentions that I think are really good movies that have really big emotional punches to you.
Yeah, I have that one in my list as well.
After that is Little Women. Thought it was good. Didn't resonate with me as much as it did like every other person I've heard.
Yeah.
I went with my wife and her family, and like all the guys were kind of like, it's all right, but all the girls like were in love with it. So
Yeah.
I think it's that situation. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Yep. If it wasn't for Tom Hanks, I don't know where I would feel about this movie. He's just the perfect Mr. Rogers. Like,
I think
Actor.
I think my problem comes down to is that he just overacts.
everyone.
Yeah, and he like I get that's the point of it. Hanks is supposed to like or Rogers is supposed to feel like that,
Yeah.
and I'm fine with that to an extent. I just think it comes to the point where I don't care
About anybody
anything else. I don't care about his dad and his relationship. I get that it's sad.
I felt like going into that movie, I was like, oh, this is just going to be about Mr. Rogers' life.
And that's what I
And
thought.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wanted to see everything that the documentary had done about his life. And I was like, I just want a movie about it now. Maybe
So-
Tom Hanks will play him again.
After that, Toy Story 4.
Yeah. I love Toy Story 4.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Really surprised. But
I have a few issues with it.
I don't like Buzz.
Yeah, Buzz is my biggest
yeah,
concern.
they made Buzz stupid.
Yeah, I hate that.
Like more so than he was in any of the other films. Like he's kind of like just casually strolling through life, not really concerned about anything. But in this movie, he's really like dim-witted on things. Like he does not know what a conscience is. Maybe he doesn't have an inner monologue either.
Don't get me started.
Yeah,
on
not
that.
this episode. But I mean, I liked it. I thought it was a good epilogue. I don't want a Toy Story 5.
Yeah,
But
I don't either.
I thought 3. I like that realistically. Yeah, what would happen after? What would Woody do? Because Woody's whole life was around
Andy.
Andy,
Yeah.
so it makes sense. I mean, some of them weren't.
It's a good epilogue.
Yeah. Next for me is Shazam,
Shazam.
which
was
actually
really
I
good.
lied. This would be higher on my like honorable mentions, but this is just the order I have them in now.
Yeah,
I love Shazam.
I do too.
I genuinely was surprised by this movie. I'm
That
glad.
was one of the most fun movies just
Yeah.
to watch last year.
And I'm glad that DC like did that and took a step back on the right track. on,
They made more of a campy comic book movie
Yeah.
than a dark, serious one.
which I'm hoping that they're doing Black Adam next year or the year after,
Yeah.
and then Shazam 2 is filming after that. So I'm hoping that Black Adam will lead into that and we can get The Rock versus Zachary Levi.
I would love that so much.
But that's like one of the biggest surprise hits. It sucks that it came out so close to Avengers
Yeah.
because everyone's like, well, if we're going to pay to see one superhero movie, you're going to pay to see Avengers.
Well, that and also Captain Marvel came out
Yeah.
around the same time. and
Which
people
I
were
took a
like-
bet with somebody before. I mean, not that like we bet anything, but I told them, I said, I bet Captain Marvel makes way more money than Shazam, but Shazam's a better movie.
Yeah.
So
And you weren't wrong.
Captain Marvel's also my honorable mentions, I guess.
I like it.
I like it. It's fine.
It's the closest we're ever going to get to a Nick Fury movie.
Yeah.
Like,
I realized that was a movie I forgot when we were talking about this. Art of Self-Defense was
I
another
love
one I
that movie.
really liked. Really black comedy that surprised me.
Yeah.
We went into it with kind of lower expectations.
and then that like last 20 or 30 minutes is just so good.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I just love the way the conflict is resolved at the end. He's just so blunt about what he's going to do, and then he just does it. Like,
yeah, and then he like reveals the twist.
Yeah.
One of the things, one of my favorite scenes is when the like little dog's really hungry and he's like, "I'm sorry, I can't feed you because he can't go out in dark anymore."
Yeah, he's scared.
Alita: Battle Angel is another
Yeah,
one I
Alita.
loved.
I wanted to put that in my top 10, but I'm like, I can't justify this as much as I loved Alita. I can't. Like, it's fun,
Okay.
but
Quickly, then I'm gonna hit the rest of these really quick. Star Wars, I enjoy it. It's fun. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, it's fine. And that's what I was worried about coming out of it.
yeah,
is that
looking at it now, having seen it twice, I think that it's probably the weakest of the new trilogy for me.
I would.
But I don't know.
I don't
'cause
know.
I haven't
I think
watched them all
The-
together.
It's surprising for me to say this as a Star Wars fan from birth, but I'm just kind of worn down from it. And
Yeah.
but I love this movie. It's in my top 10.
Yeah, that's
It
what I was
has
trying
to
not
be.
to. I
So-
think my thing comes down to that. I like that Last Jedi did so many things different. Even if
Right.
I don't agree with the difference it did, I like the risk it was willing to take.
I wish that they would have just gotten a third director that was completely different, or they would have just had the same director for the whole trilogy.
Correct.
Because I think JJ was more concerned with completing his vision for what he wanted with all three
Right.
films and doing it in one movie, getting two plot lines. And for me, I was like, this plot is moving so fast, so if you're not paying attention, like, Star Wars is going to literally jump to light speed and you're going to be missing out on, like, important plot details.
We'll quickly move the rest. Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Yep.
I really liked it. It's not.
It's one of the better Spider-Man movies.
I don't like it more than Homecoming.
Yeah, I'd say.
Tobey Maguire.
I'd say
He was in that one, right?
I'd say Spider-Verse is probably never going to be topped, and then below that are the two Tom Holland ones, and I go back and forth on those a lot.
Dude,
Frozen 2, really liked it. Was really genuinely surprised.
Tobey Maguire is the best that's ever happened this world.
Oh, burn.
We had a whole episode about that. We can talk about it again some other time.
Last Black Man, San Francisco, love this movie. If I was thinking about this critically, this would be a top 5 movie, but thinking about it like what I personally enjoyed, it's lower.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slow burn movie. It's got a lot, and there's a lot of awesome scenes in it.
Mm-hmm.
Ford versus Ferrari, I'm assuming this is on people's list. Same thing with Joker, so I'm going to just leave that. Steven Universe, the movie, I'm very biased on this one. Doctor Sleep is such an underrated movie this year that I think is a actual good sequel to Shining. Something that I did not think they'd be able to do. Hugh McGregor knocks it out of the park. I wish more people had seen this. El Camino.
Yeah.
I also really like that.
I loved El Camino too. I feel really bad that it's not on my list.
Yeah, it was one of those that watching, I was like, that was perfect. But the more I'm like, well, but do I
There's
think
a lot
about
of
it?
nostalgia.
Yeah, which
level
is
with it. But I mean, after all these years, you get the hype of
right,
just,
and I
okay,
just
something else is happening.
and that's all I wanted really was just a payoff of that. And then 12 or the last one of my honorable mentions. Oh no, 2. 1917. I like the movie a lot. I think it's a perfect movie.
Yeah.
I do think it's a 10 out of 10, but for me, it just wasn't.
Yeah.
And
I
then
get it.
12 is Booksmart. This Booksmart is the one that rides the line of should this have been on the list or shouldn't have been?
Yeah.
Because it's probably the most original comedy. Good Boys is another one I forgot
Oh yeah, Good Boys is fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna-
that I also genuinely enjoyed.
This was the hardest list I've ever made because I kept wanting. I'm still trying to change it based on different things, and I'm literally about to start doing my top 10.
All right, so we're gonna move into our top 10, and I'll kick it off just to make this easy.
Okay.
So number 10 is Marriage Story.
Okay.
This was when I first made this list. It was much higher.
It's much higher for me on my list.
Okay.
So
Uh,
we can talk about it really quick.
we can just do it now, and then
yeah.
you can just say what it is.
Marriage Story, I didn't get to watch that. There's 4 movies that I think that could have cracked my top 10 that I never got to watch.
Oh yeah,
so-
I never finished The Irishman, and I never watched The Two Popes, which is up for which is also,
I've
And
wanted
I
to
didn't
see
get to
that
watch
too.
Uncut Gems, which that seems like it's gotten a lot of
it's on my list.
yeah.
Uncut Gems deserves more praise than
It deserved.
gets.
Sandler deserved best actor, best
I
lead
agree.
actor.
It was upsetting that I didn't get to watch that. I'm still wanting to watch that. I hope-
As soon as you can, I recommend seeing it.
Yeah.
But
It's a
we'll talk about that
Yeah,
in a little
I
bit.
just-
So
we're
Marriage
gonna get
Story
to
though,
that when
Adam
we see
Driver, Scarlett Johansson, Lauren Dern, all of them knocked out of the park.
Yeah,
I think it has.
it's a very frustrating movie to watch.
Yeah,
at
it's one of
times.
those movies where it's like if there isn't a villain,
Right.
neither of them are completely in the wrong.
And neither of them are right either. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, maybe it is best for you guys to separate because you're just not good for
Yeah,
each other.
divorce isn't always black and white. And
No.
that's the point of it.
And for me, my parents getting divorced, I was like picturing my dad in that role in Adam Driver's character and my mom in Scarlett Johansson's character. And I was like, it's helping me understand why my parents went through what they did. And
Yeah.
I was like, this movie's really powerful in a lot of scenes. I love the long monologues that come
Yeah.
out throughout the film. There's long takes.
My
during
two
them.
favorite moments, which I guess we'll keep spoilers vague, 'cause I think Ryan would really like this movie, and I think
Yeah.
that's spoiler vague for everything.
Yeah.
I think is the scene in the kitchen where he gets handed the note, and of course, the argument.
Yeah, the argument is really good.
And Lauren Dern and Scarlett
Laura-
Johansson's talk.
Laura Dern and Scarlett Johansson's talk is really good. I like both of them. The one where she first meets him, and then the one where she's talking about God.
Yeah.
When I watched that scene, I was like, "This is the woman that's going to win Best Supporting Actress." I was like, I just can't see it being anything else." Marriage Story, very good movie. It's much higher for me.
Yeah, so when we get to it, we'll just skip past. Solid, you do your number 10.
My number 10 is Uncut Gems. So
There you go.
All right, we'll talk about it then.
this movie is an adrenaline rush the entire way through.
It's an
for me.
anxiety attack all the way through.
Yeah, like
oh, yeah.
like it ramps up and it doesn't really ever settle down. Like the plot will slow down, but there's still tense factor in every scene. Like there are some scenes where it's like he's not in any like real danger right now, but the situation going on is still an uncomfortable scene. Like
Yeah.
I was shocked that Adam Sandler did so well
Oh,
in
I
this
know.
role. I was reading
I'm
that.
glad he went into a serious
Yeah.
role.
Yeah.
He needed.
He does one every like 10
Yeah,
to 15
But
years.
So,
it's been so long since he's
I
done
was
anything.
looking into this. Adam Sandler was not even their original choice.
Yeah, it
Jonah
was Jonah
Hill.
Hill.
And I'm
You
just
said
like
Jonah Hill?
Jonah
Mm-hmm.
Hill was their original choice because they wanted a Jewish actor to play the character. And I was just like, I could really see Jonah Hill in this role, but I'm really glad Sandler got it to show that he is that good of an actor. Because a lot of people just make the joke that he just makes the same movie over and over again with his friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah,
He's-
but like when he's on, Adam Sandler is one of the best. And it's like he can do funny, and he's proven that he can do serious, and I can take him seriously as an actor.
One of the surprises of it is the basketball player
Kevin Garnett.
Yeah.
Kevin Garnett.
can act.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
My question was actually, is Kevin Garnett actually in the movie?
Yes.
For a good chunk of the
Yes.
time?
Yes,
Because
and
I
he's
thought
probably the second character in
really
the movie.
in the advertisements you see it and you're like, oh, they're just kind of cherry picking the player, because he's such a
Well,
No,
they,
he's
big player.
pivotal to the film.
it blows my mind how like the trailers give nothing away. There's no way you could tell me the plot from the movie from the
No,
trailers.
you can't.
good.
It's
I like that.
It's very good.
Yeah,
I had a
it's-
hard time trying to figure out exactly what it was.
I
I mean, it's
think-
just money,
which
and
is
some
still
sort of deals and-
if going into it, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like even I saw 2 trailers and I was like,
I think the theme of greed is just such a really interesting concept to base a movie
right.
on.
And there's a lot of things that happen in it that you're like, man, if you had
If
just
you would just
calm down,
Calm down.
everything would be okay. But you
Yeah.
keep making
has-
stupid greedy moves. That
he has a scene where Sandler is having an emotional breakdown. I'm like, why were you not nominated?
yeah, there's several moments where he's having different conversations where I'm like, man, that's an Oscar-worthy performance.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
If it was a different year, I think
yeah,
he
I
would be
do.
nominated. He'd probably win.
He won it at the New York Critic Award, so at least
Yeah.
he got an award for some.
Yeah.
Funny, quick little thing, Netflix announced they're doing 4 more movies with him.
Yeah.
And so he posted that he's like, see, this is what happens.
He's gonna make
guys.
an intentionally bad movie, is what he said.
Yeah.
If he didn't win the Oscar.
So what is your number 10?
My number 10 is John Wick.
Okay.
3. So I was kind of on the border with this, but
Yeah.
There's a few movies that could have hit my top 10, but I am a huge fan of the John Wick films, and this year there was just a lot of films that kind of were either conclusions or that next step. Now, John Wick will have a 4th movie, and probably the final movie.
I hope
We'll
so.
We'll see what happens, but I'm hoping they kind of wrap it up.
I think that's my problem with 3, is if it was the finale, I'd be like, well...
It would have...
It would have
yeah.
been higher on my list.
But for me, I love action, and I think that it gets even a little deeper because John Wick is so shallow on like plot that I felt like this one actually kind of dove just a little bit deeper, and there's a little bit more interaction.
They start building the world a bit more.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about it is you not only did they top their action from the last 2 movies, which is almost impossible because you're like, okay, this is like Fast and Furious kind of problem. It's like, okay,
where do you go next?
Where are we gonna go next? And they did it, but obviously he's a fantastic actor. I enjoyed it, and I could rewatch that several times and not have an issue with it. And there's a plot to it, actually.
Yeah.
The first 2 probably wouldn't have cracked my top 10, in those years
Well,
by any means, but the first one maybe, but.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about looking over 2014. I think it would, because John Wick, the first one was so interesting because it felt like a comic book. It felt like you picked up, not the first issue, but you were given something that happened
He got thrown
way
into
later
it,
down the
yeah.
line.
Like
Like you
you
picked
pick
up
up,
like
like,
a Dark
issue
Knight
50.
Returns or like something that
And
you're like, I know who John Wick is, but...
I was worried about this one before I saw it, that they were just going to kind of stretch it, and it wasn't just going to... But they did really well with it, and it earned the top 10 spot
Right,
for
and
me, so...
I agree. I think in any other year, granted, it could have been higher for me, but
it just
this
how
year
it
was
was set,
surprising.
and so I try to in my top 10s, I try to even up some of them.
Yeah.
So it's not all action movies. It's not all
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I tried to
and
do
so I
that.
try to do there's a lot of ones that could be my 10th spot, but John Wick kind of helped even it out.
I think I only have one action movie. I do. So my number 9 is Knives Out.
Okay, mine's higher than that, so we can just talk about it now.
Knives Out was a surprise hit.
Yeah,
I
I
love
agree.
Ryan Johnson. I love Looper.
Yeah.
I was really... Last Jedi, Take or Leave.
Yeah.
Whose fault that was. But I thought... So going into Knives Out, because we saw the advanced screening, I was like...
Yeah, we did.
I've heard some talk here and there that it's good,
Yeah.
but I wasn't sure. But going in, seeing how much fun Daniel Craig was having.
Murder mystery movies can be really fun, and this one, it blew me away how good the cast was, how in depth they went into characters and stuff,
Right.
and all their motivations. Everybody is a suspect for a good reason, and I'm just no, any of them could have done it. And then when you find out who did, it's okay, this is fun.
Right, and like I was saying, I think Craig sells it because coming off of the Bond movies, you can tell he's not having fun with that.
Yeah.
But he looks like he's having the time of his life.
Yeah.
Chris Evans looks
Yeah.
like he's having a blast.
Yeah.
Everyone.
And you had such a star-studded
Oh my
cast.
gosh,
Who's
yeah.
the main actress? Because she's relatively unknown, and I
Yeah,
thought
she's an unknown.
she was killing
And
it.
then everyone else is
Yeah.
unknown.
Yeah.
She had probably the best performance, I think, next to Evans and Craig.
Yeah.
To me,
This is a lot higher up in my top 10 list.
Yeah.
I figured it would be. But
This is I went out of that movie theater, and I think I told you, but I was like, this is one of my favorite movies of the year. There was not
it was
a doubt.
so good.
And typically my top 5 are usually like that. I already know that they're going to be probably my top 5 most likely.
one of my movies on my list, I did not know that coming out. It took a while
Yeah.
for me to come around on that one.
yeah,
But Knives Out for me is just such a fun movie.
And not
Yeah,
only do you
it's
get a
very
little bit
good.
of comedy, you get the thrill.
Yeah.
And it's just it's fun. You can
Yeah.
rewatch, and that was the thing. Is mystery movies are hard to rewatch because you already know what's
Right.
going to happen. I could rewatch that and still enjoy it.
I
And
think
that's
the performances are that good.
that's exactly. And so when you have a mystery movie to make it in your top 10, it's probably pretty rare. But for this one, they mastered it so well, and it's so entertaining that
Yeah.
rewatchability, which is a huge factor for me.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to crack that, and I think
Right.
that's a masterful performance on all ends, from directing all the way down from the cast. And I
think some of
there's
that comes
not
from-
really that much problems with
Yeah.
the movie to me.
I think a lot of like the rewatchability comes from like Craig's performance.
Yes.
And like the comedic timing he gives, like the donut speech he
Yeah,
gives.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all just that. And being able to like as you're watching it be like, okay, so I know what happens, so you can see it again, you're like, okay, I see how this all does connect.
Yes. And what's my favorite thing about it is they're going to do more.
Yeah.
And I think
Yep.
that's awesome.
I thought that was great when they were
and I'm
like,
happy for them.
Daniel Craig is going to come back as Benoit Blanc, and I'm like, all right. Like,
Yeah, at first I was worried when like we're doing another Knives Out, but they're like, well,
It's
a whole
different
different-
mysteries.
different. It's
Yeah.
like the Murder on the Orient Express, what's going to follow.
You could do a whole series with him, and I think it'd be fun.
Oh, yeah,
we're
I think
going to get our modern day Sherlock Holmes with.
I think that's what he
Daniel
should
Craig.
do as soon as No Time to Die comes out. He should be like, I'm done with Bond. Like, I'm doing these.
I'm
Well,
doing
they're
these murder mysteries.
They should be done filming by now, so...
Well,
I
they
would
are-
think so because they've
Well,
already
they could
released
do
the first script.
reshoots.
That's true, I
But-
guess.
So 9.
My 9 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's also my 9.
Okay, cool.
Oh,
So, this is a very long movie, kind of about nothing, with a hint of the Sharon Tate murders with its
Which
own spin on it
I
at the
feel
end.
like that was the marketing shouldn't have pushed that as hard, but I guess
Yeah.
I don't know what else she would have pushed.
But, like, I love the performances in this. I think that Leonardo DiCaprio does so good as Rick Dalton. Like, I feel like I'm actually watching an actor struggle with, like, the tailspin of his career and, like...
Do you feel like Brad Pitt did a better job, or Leo? See, I'm leaning towards Brad.
I think it's
I think they
hard.
both do so well because they both have
Yeah.
such different material
They
to
do.
work with.
But Brad Pitt's films, they're always action based and stuff.
Mhm.
It was just nice to like get him in a different vibe, different
Yeah.
role.
Yeah.
kind of thing. He's still serious, but I enjoyed it.
I think for me, I genuinely enjoyed the movie a lot, and I think the
Yeah.
last 40 minutes are the most Tarantino thing I've seen in a long time. Like, I love
Yeah.
those moments.
Like when they actually go in there to try to murder.
Yeah,
them and then-
when stuff wants to go
Yeah,
down.
you're the only big complaint I have this if I feel like it drags out a little bit.
Yeah, I
yeah.
think the middle act is...
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
almost
I-
you could have cut that in half. Now Tarantino is so abstract on everything he does.
Right,
like,
and
you're-
he can take a 5-minute scene and stretch it out to like 20 minutes, and
Yeah.
he does that in the scene where Brad Pitt's character goes out into like the desert. Like,
yeah, with the hippies and the...
yeah. Is
Yeah.
that scene almost one shot? Like it's very few cuts. It feels like
No, because they keep cutting back to the...
between
Yeah.
the people
Yeah.
talking.
Well, them and then the guy that was out doing
Yeah.
the tour.
Yeah.
Because they have the people go out to get him, and it cuts back from
Yeah.
them a lot.
But it just, that scene in particular, I was like, okay, Brad Pitt is really killing it here. Like, because, like, you're on edge because something feels off, but you're like, is it just because they're just weird, or is something really going on here?
the scene with Leo in the saloon. When he's like sitting there with and then the girl comes
little
like
girl.
after, but they're doing that and they're like rehearsing
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in their own production. I think that was brilliant.
Yeah, I liked
love-
seeing almost
because he
the
did so
behind the
well at
scenes.
faking acting, but he's acting. So
Yeah.
I
There's
think
like
that's just
the behind the
interesting.
scenes stuff going
Yeah.
on. Honestly, if Quentin Tarantino wanted to do a TV show that was based on that Western that they were doing in that movie, I'd watch it.
Well, there's...
Or was it? Yeah.
It's confirmed that they're doing at least 4 episodes, and he's directing them.
Yeah, and I'm like, just do more of that and somehow get Django involved. It's okay. Like, we'll watch it. I promise. Like, it's really good. The last 20 minutes with the home invasion is just amazing. I love the pacing. 'Cause
Yeah.
it'll speed up for some scenes and then slow down. And every performance is keeping me interested. I think Margot Robbie's is the weakest of the main
She
three
didn't
actors.
really get as much screen time, but she didn't get as much like interesting things
Yeah.
like going
Yeah.
on.
I think her character arc comes from more of everyone knowing that
Who
she gets
Sharon
murdered.
Tate is,
Yeah.
So it's like, I like that Tarantino will take history and be like, no, this is what happened in my universe. This
Yeah.
didn't happen, so traditional Hollywood gets to live on, because a lot of people say that the type of Hollywood that people used to adore kind of died with Sharon Tate. And I'm just like, it's really cool to see that Tarantino's like, I'll alter this a little bit and we'll have a different universe.
And the thing about this movie is you kind of have to know a little bit of backstory between like old Hollywood too. And if you don't, then this movie could get you even more lost. I think probably.
Right. I mean, it's a celebration of that time.
Yeah. So
because that's the time period that made Tarantino want to be a
if
director.
I was in
so
high
it's definitely a passion
if I was in
project
high
for him.
school and I watched this, I'd be like, what the? I mean,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
worse than what? Because even now you're like, okay, well, there's some stuff you're like, I don't know what's going on exactly, but that's just how every Tarantino film is. You really know.
So number 8 for me is The Farewell.
Okay. That's my number 6. So
Well, I didn't tell you when to say it, where say it was at, Zach.
sorry.
I was genuinely surprised by this movie. I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't think it would be this good.
Yeah, I think at one point I almost started crying.
I bawled my eyes out at the end.
Yeah.
I bawled so hard I almost made the noise in the theater. Where it was
I'm sitting next to you and your wife, and we're all just super emotional. And I was like, why is this so good? Like, why am I, like, about to cry?
We talked about how Awkwafina got snubbed.
Yeah, I think she did.
And I was worried going in for her to be the leading because, like, I saw Crazy Rich Asians, and I was like, she's good in that.
Yeah.
I don't know how good she can be on her own, but I was so glad to be so wrong.
Yeah, I hope that she continues with acting over her music career.
Well, she is. She's in, like, she's a Disney princess, or gonna be, no.
Okay.
She's in the next Disney princess movie, and she's in Shang-Chi.
Yeah. So I'm like, good. Like,
Yeah.
You are actually very talented. Please continue acting.
But it's just such an interesting movie of, would you do this? What would be the situation? You know,
yeah.
should you tell somebody
it's like,
they have cancer?
It's almost like me watching it, I'm like, this is not how I feel like families in the Western Hemisphere would handle this. And it's me learning to respect why Eastern culture does that, because they really hammer it into the main character who's been growing up in the United States.
Right, well, we're supposed to, like...
We're supposed to identify with her, and it's like, no, we should tell this person what's going on with them, rather than let them think that they're okay.
But I also agree that it makes sense why you wouldn't tell somebody, because people tend to be like...
You don't want them to suffer.
Well, and people tend to be like, well, now my life's over. Like, I'm going to die.
Yeah, so
and, like, that's
they
the
wanted
point,
her to
is, like,
continue living. And
not to have that. Not to have your life feel like it's just done.
Yeah, I really learned to respect that ideology by the end of the film.
Yeah. Even though it hurts, and I get where, like,
yeah.
the character comes from, but, like, I agreed with them by the end that I was like...
Okay,
I was like, maybe I wouldn't tell somebody. Now, granted, that's not our choice here, because the doctor need to be told first, but, like, if I was in that situation where they're like, you don't have to tell them, I'd be like, I probably wouldn't. I'd be like, unless it's going to, like, if they're just going to slowly, like, I don't know. I agree with the message.
It's a gray area.
It is.
Like, because, like, they're not really wrong for doing that because their reasoning comes from a place of love.
Yeah, it's not about, it's your family.
It's not selfish for them like you think the first, like, 20 minutes into the movie, you're like, oh, you all are being selfish, but then by the end it's like, no, they're the ones that are taking that burden and suffering for her so that she can live and have a good remainder of her life. And I was like, this is intense.
Yeah, all those scenes where they argue about it are just so, like, powerful, and, like, the brothers talk. There's, like, the brothers out on one of the floors smoking, talking about it. Like, that sounds like...
I was just blown away at how unexpected that movie was.
Okay, so, number 8.
My number 8 is Just Mercy. So, I saw this only a few weeks ago, but it came out on Christmas Day. Same with 1917, which I'm sure we'll talk about. Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx are so good in this movie.
They kill it.
There's a good 10 or 15 minute stretch in that movie where I'm just crying. Like,
yeah, towards the middle end.
I would say
towards the end of Act 2.
I was going to say it's about halfway through Act 2.
You guys cry a lot in your movies.
This was an emotional year.
Yeah, every other movie you guys talk about,
2019
I was crying, man.
Well, the context of the scene is...
I wouldn't.
It's a movie about people on death row.
Yeah.
So, like, if you've ever seen, like, The Green Mile and that made you emotional...
Well, the premise
the
is...
same thing.
It's the true story of, like, how people are wrongfully put on death row.
Right.
And so, like, hearing his, like, plea on, like, how he was there...
Oh, yeah.
And it's,
like...
Emotional. Well, and one of the guys in it was only there because he had PTSD. And he put a bomb on somebody's porch.
That's the part that I got very emotional. I was like, this person isn't a bad person. And I was just like, oh, man. I'm just like, this soldier is here. And, like, I was super emotional because I'm like...
all of them really happened. Like
Yeah,
everybody on Death Row that they like,
everything
with
was
the
true.
3 characters we follow, besides Jordan's character,
Yeah.
all of them like legitimate. Like that, at the end of the movie, they like go through everyone's
Yeah,
case.
they talk about like whether or not they were put to death or whether or not they got their charges overturned.
and how long someone
How long
took.
it took, yeah. And I was just like, this is a very, very sad, emotional film. But like,
Yeah,
there's a scene where Jamie Foxx's character is talking about just being able to feel like the sunshine on his face and stuff, and he just closes his eyes and he pictures himself before he was arrested, and I was like, oh my god, this is so good. Like, I'm surprised this movie is not up for anything.
yes
like-
and no.
Because I'm just like,
I feel like my problem is I don't know what I would give it to, and maybe in another year.
maybe,
But just over over things that are nominated, I just don't see it.
I guess, but
Because
like,
for me, and we'll talk about it later, like, I'll get to it later. I'm like,
Yeah.
movies that I think were, I mean, we already said Uncut Gems.
yeah,
I
I
think
know.
Rocket Man is cut short.
It's
So
a
like,
crazy year.
so like,
And maybe that's just because I've seen more movies this
Yeah.
year than any other year, but like, Just Mercy helped me change my opinion on how I feel about the death penalty.
right, and that's what we said. I said I already thought that way, but seeing it kind of like solidified.
Yeah. Because to me, I'm just like, well, you kind of got yourself put there, and then I was like, well, I haven't ever thought about these people and their situation. And like, I went into it with my mind being made up that like, this movie's probably going to challenge me. I did not think it would make me change my thought process on it. And
Right.
like, to me, like, I can take away from that film a whole lot more, especially because it was a true story, I think.
Yeah.
Like, being a true story, it really helped me feel for the characters even more. And I was just like, this really happened. So that's my number 8 is Just Mercy.
My number 8 is 1917.
Okay.
So,
That's on my list, and it's a little
a
higher
little
up.
higher. Yeah.
But we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So obviously the cinematography is like the highlight probably of the movie, at least on the idea of the one shots. The world then and just the war zones and just
Yeah.
all the one shots, and you can tell it's all one shotted. Just
Yeah.
the camera guys.
Yeah.
What they had to go through, like in all the trench shots, where they're just running through all these people.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
you think about the thousands and thousands of people that are like just literally like and all that. You have to respect
Yeah.
those camera guys and the
Like-
angles and just the, and then obviously the 2 actors. For the most part, like Benedict Cumberbatch, he had like, well, I know, but he had like 30 seconds.
Well, we talked about that they put a lot of the named actors in little roles so they could solve that, but you had 2
Yeah.
mostly unknowns. I know one of them was Tommen Baratheon from
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, but like,
Yeah.
You barely remember that,
right,
though.
and so like,
Honestly, I didn't think about that until like towards the end. I'm like, oh wait, he's the
Yeah.
But
It was intense.
you go through the story with them,
Yeah.
and it's over a short, like a few hours basically.
like
but
12-hour stretch. I
that
think is what
second
it is.
half of the film is so. I mean, it's all intense, but that second half,
Yeah.
basically, I won't ruin anything, but from the airplane crash on,
Yeah.
that you're just like in your seat, ready to see what
Yeah.
happens, and
Yeah.
you see it from their perspectives the whole time.
Yeah. You're
And I
exhausted
love,
by
and,
the
yeah,
end.
and by the end, when he, well, I can't. This is a hard movie not to
yeah,
spoil.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
you
Towards the end, when everything's hitting its final peak, you
Yeah.
feel so exhausted,
Yeah.
but for good reason.
I like that the movie kind of ends where it began too, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
With like how it opens, it ends the same way with him resting. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is really cool. And like, I read an article about the theme of trees in the movie. I won't go into that for spoiler stuff, but like trees play a
yeah,
part in the
there is
film.
a talk
Yeah.
of that.
And,
I think what makes it, I think what makes it impactful is just like you feel like you're there, and that's what the
Yeah.
one shot does. The editing, I think the film editing on that should be well deserved because I cannot imagine having to like go through all your shots and being
Right.
like, okay, how does this blend to this one, and
Imagine
make it
screwing up-
genuinely feel like one shot.
Well-
Imagine messing up a take when you're like almost to the very end of your
I
one
know.
shot and you have to go all the way.
Well,
you can have
they
any-
don't go all the way back.
I know, but like
Yeah.
to like a certain part to where they
You
can
think
do
about
that
all the
from there
movable
again.
parts though that are going on.
Right.
It's like, and this is in the commercials or the trailers, but when he's running, there's that,
where he stands up and he's running towards the camera, and all the other soldiers
people
are running forward.
Yeah, you think that had to have taken several takes.
Yeah,
to
they
get
have
down, right?
a behind the scenes IMAX release that's like showing how they made that shot.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that the cameraman's at the very end and they're just
It's
slowly...
a crane.
Oh, it's a crane.
And that shot alone is just insane. Now, there's the only thing that I can think of that was a little bit lackluster is some of the deaths of the other soldiers as it was going. I thought that, like, there's actually in that specific scene, there's like a couple of soldiers that just fall down, and it looked really bad.
But I feel like some of them didn't die. Some of the, like the ones that were just tripping,
they almost just look like they just tripped.
Yeah,
like,
well, I think a lot of them just fell and like then they get like trampled or something.
Yeah.
Or they're just there, like
yeah, that was the only thing that was kind
there's
of weird.
bombs going off and people are shaking,
Yeah.
and like hitting
Yeah.
the ground, probably not to get hit.
Yeah,
Like,
But I think the purpose of the movie is the journey, not so much.
No, and I get
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
I think this is almost a perfect movie.
Oh
for
no,
me.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
I love war films. I love
Yeah.
action. I lean towards that, and I love thinking or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that got you through, and then like I said, that I can't ruin because there's a lot of spoilers in this one.
But
But
I feel like there isn't. I feel like there is and isn't. But it's one of those movies that I'd rather know nothing about. So when you watch
yeah,
it,
I don't want to say something. And you're like, oh, well, that changes my perspective of what I thought it was going to be.
For sure.
So I want the movie to change your perspective as it goes.
Yeah.
So because it's all one progressive move basically. So but anyways, I love it. I love it.
I agree.
So-
I think it's a 10 out of 10. It just was for me wasn't something that I
Yeah, it's just a specific
Right.
genre, and it's some people don't like that. It's not incredibly gory, but it's definitely gory. There's one scene where literally his hand is in
Yeah.
soldier's
Oh
guts.
yeah, when they're crossing the
Oh.
no man's land.
Yeah, and,
That to me was the most intense
and
scene
he
for me.
yeah, and he literally is just sitting there in his hand. He
Yeah.
accidentally puts his hand in, and he just like goes, oh. And literally, he had just cut his hand.
cut
off.
his
we
hand
were all
off.
And
like,
I'm like, oh, infection.
yeah, we're all like, he's dead.
Yeah.
I was like, he's gonna die.
yeah,
But
It's like-
I mean, there's just so much of like that movie that
Yeah.
I just genuinely enjoy.
yeah.
So number 7 again for me is Uncut Gems. Adam Sandler's Robbed. It's
Yeah.
it's such a great movie. Any other year, this could have been number 1 or like in my top 5.
Yeah,
But
I'd
for me
agree.
this year, there were just some things that hit a little bit harder.
My number 7 was Knives Out. We've already talked about that.
Yeah.
Some
Okay.
performances are really good.
So this one, I'm not really sure if you guys have this on here, but Avengers.
I have it on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I figured, but at the same time,
don't,
we
but
really
I have
haven't
a
talked
reason
about
for
it
that.
that much. And yes, it was earlier in the year, and
Yeah.
but this was a game changer for.
Yeah, we were talking about it on the way over. I was like,
It's the end. It's the end.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we've literally from like 08, we've been,
I've
it's
not-
the most
we've
culturally
almost-
important film.
Well, and for us, especially just going back for, especially Brandon and I, and you've been to a lot of movies with us and stuff, but
yeah,
it's like, I just remember us going to
Yeah.
almost every
Yeah.
single one of these movies to get to this point, and it's like, we're here.
Yeah,
I feel like this movie transcends 2019 movies in a way because it's
so
part of
different.
Such a huge
I
franchise.
debated what to do with it, and I'll talk about it when I get to it. Because
and I'm in the same
Yeah.
boat, but I had to put it in my top 10. And I mean, it was great. It wasn't bad, but these other movies are just so different
Yeah.
compared to what it is.
Yeah.
But I put it in there.
Avengers is a victory lap. This is
It is.
You know
this
how,
is
like-
their deserved moment of being like.
And they get what they.
Yeah,
they get it.
They're the highest grossing movie of all time, and they
and-
deserve it.
And
Yeah.
it was well made, and you think the final fight scene, and you think about all
Oh my
the character
gosh.
the
build
visual
up,
effects,
the
yeah.
adrenaline off of there.
The shot of
Um,
Captain America
super
skating in front of
the
the army.
thing that is starting to become maybe, I don't know if it's bad or good, but superhero movies are their own category,
Right,
I think. And I want to get a little bit better on storytelling with some of these superhero movies.
Yeah.
And I think with the Star Wars thing I just mentioned, I think is happening with superhero movies to a certain extent where there's almost this it's like for me, some of them I'm just kind of, I want to see what DC brings. But Marvel, I've kind of worn down with. I'm almost like...
It's almost like it's plateaued for you think?
I think so. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not excited for anything
Right.
else coming in, but I'm like, okay. I
But
just want to just kind of...
after such a significant
Yeah.
Event.
thing as
Yeah.
You just almost...
yeah.
It's like you almost want them to just kind of take a time out and rebuild. And they're doing a lot of stuff on TV shows now and stuff.
Yeah.
So some of that may change the game a little bit. But for me, I loved it. there's a lot of emotion to it, a lot of little twisting, and we all had our theories on what was going to happen, who was going to die. We got all of that. And I think they did a really well with ending it and not causing too much controversy or not screwing it up.
Yeah.
And I think everybody that watched that came out going, this is how it should have ended.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's a lot of people that were objective, like, it's like Star Wars is so debatable on certain things. I felt like
people
Endgame
are much more satisfied.
I felt like
with this
Endgame,
than
no
they were
one
Star
really,
Wars,
there wasn't riots out on the streets,
The
people
fan
were-
base isn't like tearing itself apart.
Yeah, and you felt like everybody came out there and you're like, wow. You're like, I feel complete.
Yeah.
And that's why this movie got in my top 10 because it completed it. It finished that real
We
story.
double featured
well.
it the opening night.
I saw it 3 times in less than 24
Yeah.
hours.
And the thing is it's good action too.
Yeah.
I mean, and you get to, and they fit so much in there in so little time that you can't beat that hardly.
Right.
And that's a big assignment.
It's hard.
So,
And I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna talk about it when it comes to my area because I have it
yeah.
kind of high up. And so when it gets to me, I'll talk. My number 6 is Claws.
Okay.
Yeah, I've wanted to see that,
This-
but I'm going to wait till next holiday season.
Yeah, this was really hard because when I first watched it, I was like, no. I was like, that is not one of the best Christmas movies I've ever
I've
seen.
heard the animation is
It's beautiful. J.K. Simmons just steals. He plays Santa, and it's like every scene he's in, I'm like, oh my gosh, it is just such a enjoyable, emotional movie. That's just fun and like it's about. I mean, the first couple minutes, I was like, I don't know about this because the premise is like this guy who owns the post office, basically like the mail system. His son is gonna take over soon, and he's like, well, you don't really deserve it, so I'm gonna have you go like onto this onto this island that like nobody sends mail from, and he's like, you have to get I don't remember how many letters sent, and he's like, when you do that, if you do that within this time frame, I'll let you come back, and you can take over, you can have your inheritance, blah blah that crap, and through the movie it's like his like. At first, it starts as like him being a con man, but I mean, like slowly, it's like the liar reveal, which is one of the worst twists I hate in movies. But like just the come around of like the animation and like all the emotion that's built up. It's about these 2 rival clans like fighting against each other the entire time, and that's why like the island's just about hate and the movie's about love.
I really didn't hear that much about it.
No one did.
It was a very quiet movie.
Yeah.
That kind of slipped out.
I saw it like on Netflix's highlights a couple times during December, and I was like, I might watch that, but like,
And Netflix is really good with
Can I see yours?
Netflix is really good at like those movies that they specialize in. You seem like you hear a lot about it. It always becomes a trending thing. So I was surprised that Claws wasn't. So
I know.
You don't have it?
No,
What the right here. Okay.
there's just so many movies.
I'm surprised that wasn't on your like top 5.
Like, it just couldn't be.
Huh.
Like as much
It's
as
fighting with my family.
as much as
the
I love
WWE
fighting
movie.
with my family, it can't. Like, it's good. Like,
Jeremy Johns has number 3, so that's why I was curious.
well, I mean, that's
I thought for you it'd be.
Jack McCombs knows all things.
Listen.
It's not worthy.
There's another film about wrestling that's much
Yeah.
higher.
But
So
sorry, into my Claws thing, it did come out of nowhere. I feel like,
Yeah.
and that was the thing. Like I saw on Twitter a bunch of people talking about it, and I was like, okay. And my family watched it at Christmas, and I was sitting there, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like,
I've heard it's like an instant classic.
it is. To me, it's another Arthur Christmas, and that would have been my top 10 the year that came out too.
Yeah.
Of being like, I watch Arthur Christmas every year Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your number 6, Zach?
My number 6 was The Farewell, so we've already talked about that as well.
Okay.
For most of us, my list is just
Yeah.
like one off from
This will
you
start
guys,
getting quicker.
So,
Yeah. Well, to an extent.
Yeah. So my number 6 was Ford versus Ferrari.
Okay.
I don't expect you guys to have this on there.
That was an honorable mention
Yeah.
for me.
I mean,
Yeah.
I liked it.
I
I feel
love
like it
it.
goes on a little too long.
I think the last like 10-ish minutes after the race, I feel like we should have just ended it. But
Yeah,
I get it.
it kind of dragged on a little bit. That if I had a skeptical thing saying, honestly, I came in not thinking this movie was going to be that great, but just kind of those
Yeah.
strung out movies that it's kind of cool a little
Yeah.
bit. But
Yeah.
I was actually a lot more engaged. One of my favorite scenes is actually Ford Jr. the third.
Henry
Are you
Ford
talking about when they
III.
take him on the test?
Yes, and when he
Yeah.
starts, and he's taken. He goes, "Oh, I can handle it," and everything.
Yeah.
And he goes in there, and at the very end of when he's like stops racing around, and he stops for a second, and he just starts crying, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you think he's crying because
Of
that was
the
too
speed.
much because of the speed and
Yeah.
he couldn't handle it." But he's
But-
actually just like my dad is just so happy,
Would have been
would
so
have been so
happy.
proud of me or
Yeah.
proud of whatever. And honestly, that scene,
Yeah,
I will
I-
always remember that scene
Yeah.
because it was that he didn't have that much acting in the movie,
Right, which I was kind of shocked that Henry Ford didn't play such a
But
huge
he
part in
played
it.
the scenes
But
that he
every
played
scene
were
that he's
very
in,
strong. He did
yeah.
really well as a
I
good
feel
just
like he
little support.
steals scenes,
Yeah.
even though Matt Damon and Christian Bale obviously.
But
were-
I love Christian Bale's character.
Yeah.
I think both of them did so good
Mhm.
together. The ending, I won't spoil it.
Yeah, I think the race should have where it's ended. And I agree that what happens after like the epilogue to it.
But
hit or
that's
miss,
what actually
but-
happens. Though.
Well, it is,
And
but
so
I
you're
feel
like,
like-
this
I
is a
think-
historic.
But I feel like that's not how I would have.
send your fans home happy. I
And
think.
we'll talk about it later. I don't want to spoil it, but if we done, I think we can talk about it after this. But I would have ended it with just some black text
Yeah.
because
Yeah, just
Um,
having the text.
you
Yeah.
already have a bittersweet moment there at the end that I
Yeah.
wouldn't have then been like
Yeah,
while you're
it's
feeling that
just like-
bittersweetness,
it's
you
just
come
like
up with a
you're
barrel and you're just
mad.
beating
But,
them.
Yeah.
and I feel like that way. I think they covered up that ending with a little bit of hope at the
Yeah.
very end.
Yeah,
And that
it's not
kind
like
of
completely
yeah.
stopping
So
your soul.
but honestly, I mean, this is more of a historic based movie.
True.
Yeah.
Which, if you're going to tell the story, because it didn't happen too much after, it's still within the relative. I get what you're
it happens,
saying.
But I feel like
Pretty
the movie's more about the race,
quick.
not about their lives to an
Well,
extent.
see, I
But
would
it's
disagree.
both. In it.
Because it was such. If you know very much history about it, which I knew everything that was
Yeah.
going to happen, basically. I actually thought just from the beginning, and I thought it was really well done because you're invested in Christian Bale's character throughout this and his journey through it and stuff, and how much he had to work to get to that point and
Right.
how undervalued he was, and then where he got and what he was doing and stuff. And then, his kid and all that. And I won't spoil it. I can't spoil it, but that's... Anyways, the journey that you go is invested. Yeah, it's a Debbie Downer at the very end, but it's realism, and it tells part of history, but you also feel his conclusion. He got what he wanted
Yeah.
to a certain extent. Now, the actual race itself was not what you wanted exactly,
Right.
but I loved it. And I think Matt Damon did a phenomenal job too. I love his little
Yeah.
accent that he's got going on, and there's just that style. So I never thought it was gonna be a top 10, but
Yeah.
I had to make an
It's good.
exception for it.
Like,
so
Again, we could keep saying this in a different
A lot of
year.
people, this is probably not in the top 10s, but for me,
I think
it's
I mean, it's
something.
up for best
It's
picture.
up for
so,
best
yeah.
picture, so I mean,
I think in a different year I would have had this in my top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's just a lot of a variety. This is the biggest
I
variety.
feel like we've
of
said
media,
that
I
like
think,
for
so.
every other
Yep.
movie.
There's a lot of movies that I do feel like if they
It makes it
come
more
out-
interesting for
yeah.
us because we got them
Yeah.
all mixed up this time.
So number 5, right?
Yes.
You never know what is like. This is actually just Brandon's shower recording from this morning.
Yeah, I did actually all the vocals for Taron Egerton. I think this is the movie that was robbed. This and Uncut Gems are the most robbed from the Oscars because
Yeah.
I think Taron Egerton's performance in Rocketman had me bawling my
This is
eyes
number
out.
5, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So
Now, and-
it's an honorable mention for me because I only just saw it like 2 weeks ago. I
Something
watched
like
it
that.
at your
Oh, wow.
house. Yeah, because I kept saying I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it.
yeah. And then one night before, I originally thought our recording schedule got messed up, so I was like, well, I'm gonna make Zach watch Rocketman before we record.
Yeah.
And then I like it, and I think it's a better movie than Bohemian Rhapsody for sure.
Miles better.
But
Yeah, I would not
But,
compare
yeah,
them.
I like Queen more than Elton John, so it's harder for me to care about it as much. But then there's the ending scene where he's like
when he,
reflecting on his life.
I cry. I've cried.
I
I've seen the movie 3 times now. I saw it
And-
twice in theaters.
They used the song "I'm Still Standing" at the exact perfect time for me, and I was like, "This is a beautiful movie."
Yeah,
Like-
I saw that.
Like the fact that like Ryan is literally holding Rocketman music from the motion picture vinyl CD in front of us.
Mhm.
For me, and Will, I assume this is higher on your list potentially.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
This was my number one for a long time.
Yeah.
I had this.
I
as my
mean, the
number
production, the costume design. How is it not up for costume design?
one. It's whatever.
Like,
but
Well,
like,
just copying what Elton John already did. So
yeah.
but like for
but
me,
still, like, it's one of
Yeah.
those things that it's like,
he even
it was-
he looks so much like Elton.
Right.
Like it's mind blowing. Even like looking at this picture, like
no best makeup, no visual, no costume design, anything. I do agree this movie was robbed. Like, I think it's good.
yeah.
It was harder for me to get into it, and also because I'd seen all these other movies and I'd already made up my mind about them. Like, I think it's really good.
okay, so me and Ryan will talk about what's
Yeah,
in our top
I-
10.
I've got a lot to
Zach's
say
over
about
there.
this.
Zach's over there just be like,
It was
it's
number-
only an honorable mention.
It's number 11 for me, okay?
But like for me, like I was really worried, and up until the point where they do is it Saturday night?
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday.
The
Saturday night's alright.
after the first third of the movie, it starts kind of rolling a little bit,
Yeah,
and then the
and-
second half it goes full speed.
Well, but that was the moment where I was like, before that, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this because I love that opening shot where he's walking down the
Yes.
hall. But
Yeah.
then like.
There's so much symbolism throughout this whole movie.
Yeah, but then like as it followed, I was like, I don't know. When I was showing him as a kid, I was like, this is good, but I'm not like in love yet. But then that moment where it changes and switches to let Taryn come in,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
And
okay.
he
The fact
steals
that
it from
Rami
there.
Malek could be nominated for...
It's just a different year.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I definitely. So this is. I don't.
Should have pushed it
Can
back
I
to-
can I put my number? What I
You,
ranked this
it doesn't.
on?
Zach spoiled one already.
Yeah,
So.
I haven't, but this is my number one. So
Okay.
I feel like I need to say that.
Yeah.
And maybe I was being too hyped up for it, but so Elton John is one of my favorite artists.
Yeah.
I got to meet him when I was little. I got to be on stage with him. So I've already got a personal connection.
Yeah.
From when I was like 10. So I was already like super hyped up for this movie. But I was also going to be really skeptical because if he goofed this up, and it's really weird. And Elton John has a really weird way of saying things if you know very much about him. And obviously he was assisting on like telling the story of his life, basically.
Yeah.
But the music in this, and I didn't think anybody. I thought Elton John was going to cover and he's just going to try to voice it, or like I don't know how they were going to do that exactly. But I'm Still Standing. When he does that,
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
I've listened to this soundtrack. It's on my Spotify playlist. It
Yeah.
gives you the top like
Yeah,
your top
it's super high
And,
up.
no, it was my number one. I'm Still Standing is number one. And so I obviously throughout this and listening to his music and how it was put in the storytelling, the symbolism,
Yeah.
the struggles, everybody can relate to some part of this movie in whatever part of life you're in.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many times I've watched this. I would say at least 8, 9 times, maybe more. But if we're going to talk about emotions, this one pulls at me.
Yeah.
And part of it is I think of my childhood and stuff, so I've got a lot of connections with this. But
Right.
at the same time, and then Love Me Again. I'm Gonna Love Me Again. That was the other one.
Yeah.
That's the one
With
that-
Elton John
Yeah.
and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so for me, this is definitely my number one. I could go back maybe and put it number 2 or 3. But for me, it was too strong. I already knew it was
Yeah.
gonna be a number one when it came out, and I was like, there's gonna have to be something. Which there was a few movies that caught me
Yeah.
off guard, but for me, Elton, this one does it
Karen
for
does
me.
a very good job.
Yeah, you cannot find anybody that could do a better job than he did to represent Elton John. I just can't see it.
Yeah.
I just can't see it. And he's not in a lot of things. He's obviously in
Kingsman.
and I love both of them. They're some of my favorite movies. He is a very underrated actor, and
I think
he's fine. This is getting him
Yeah, I think
there,
he's
and
gonna be
Kingsman
yeah.
did, but
Yeah.
this showed his.
He could have
His
had
variety.
He could have had a career in music just as well as
Yeah, I
could
mean, he
in
did
acting.
sing as well, and that's what got him the role. That's what I've
Yeah.
heard really push because he did. I'm Still Standing
But-
in that.
Yeah, but this, I was mind blown by the fact that how he was acting and singing.
Yeah.
With him not having, learning all that, he had to go through so much training and just and it's mentally exhausting. He goes from high to low to high to low to high to low throughout the whole movie and
Yeah.
stuff. that is a very hard thing to top in acting. I mean,
Yeah.
it just is. And just to add to the music and stuff. And you got Elton John. The guy that you're doing is watching you do
Yeah.
this. You know how much pressure that...
Which I feel like is a blessing and a curse because you don't want them. This is my problem with Bohemian Rhapsody is the people who are still alive for Queen have too much of a say, and that's where I think the biopics need to wait till people are dead because
Yeah.
you should have full control to show their darkest, their worst moments, but their highs.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing I appreciate about Rocket Man is that they show
Elton
their
John's
darks.
very open
Yeah.
about it, and he has his own book, and he has all this, and he's a very open book
Yeah.
kind of guy, and he's
Yeah.
obviously, and so you see his life, I think, as it should, and he may have exaggerated a few things. We'll never know.
Sure.
But for me, the scenes with his dad and all that,
that made
stuff.
me. That made me.
That's a lot of stuff that a lot of
cry.
people don't know. And he comes back later on when he's like doing well, and his dad has his other kids and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
that scene. I was just like, this is rough to watch.
yeah, and he has so much hope still in him in
Mm-hmm.
that scene and stuff.
And his dad just doesn't care.
Yeah, and a lot of people were skeptical on, oh, he's gonna have all these gay scenes and all that, which you hear some of that, and we're in 2020 now. It doesn't. That's
It shouldn't
irrelevant.
matter.
Yes, but honestly,
I thought it was
I didn't
very
feel
tame,
like that it was pushed.
considering how
Yeah.
open he is about.
Well, I didn't
Homosexuality,
I didn't
yeah.
feel like it was as pushed as some people are like, oh, they're really just throwing that out because it's Hollywood and all that. I didn't feel like
I
that.
didn't feel that either.
And part of it's you just know
Yeah.
he's gay, and you know that he's very open about it, and he represents the gay community in a lot of different ways. So, but for me, that's my number one. So we'll get that out.
Yeah,
there.
so Zach, you're number 5. We gotta look back there.
My number 5 was 1917.
Okay, so we
We've
talked
already
about
talked about that. So, your number 5, Ryan.
No, I wasn't ready. Star Wars.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine. This is such a I have no judgment.
we
It's
have,
a, it's
a
very,
full episode on this.
I'm going to cover it pretty quickly. Star Wars is my theme.
Yeah,
And it's
I love
like
it.
this is the same thing with Endgame. To the same point, is Endgame a top 10 actual overall movie? Maybe. Star Wars is the exact same thing for me. I knew at the beginning of this year, we were talking, we said Star Wars and Endgame. You've got two massive conclusions to,
Giant franchises.
franchises, to their own extent. They're both extending them out, and they're both owned by
Yeah,
Disney,
but
so
this
who knows
is,
what will
this
happen.
is like the footnote of stuff that everybody cares about the most.
This is obviously my favorite franchise and stuff. So, and I think they did really well. You guys can listen to our Star Wars podcast if you really want to hear it. We go into great detail with our guest Ryan Lindsay also, but for me, I think it concluded a lot really well. It solved a lot of weird things with Last Jedi, and I think that there's not too much more that they could have done to solidify the Star Wars. I mean, and they have. You think Endgame had a lot to wrap up and stuff. I think with the Star Wars fans and all that.
Yeah, I think
that's your scary.
they had a lot of people had a bad taste in their mouth from the previous movie, so they were.
There's so much, and
They're
so they're trying to
to-
wrap up so much
they're
in
trying
such
to make the
in one
fantastic-
coming
movie.
off of Solo, which is pretty divisive, and they bombed the box office.
Yeah, which I still disagree with why it shouldn't have bombed like that. But for me, I have to put it in my top 10. I think it just because I like Star Wars a little bit more than Avengers, it beat that out.
Sure.
So, I mean, I won't get into too much because I can stay here for hours, and we don't want you guys to listen to me rant about Star Wars for hours. So.
The Star Wars.
So number 4 is the Peanut Butter Falcon.
Okay, that's higher up for me. So, oh man,
This was such a surprise hit, and
it's an
I
emotional roller coaster for me.
we watched it again recently because I needed to confirm how I felt about it, and it moved down a couple slots, but I still love the movie.
Oh,
I do think Zach's performance. I don't remember his last name.
Yeah,
But
he does very well.
The guy who plays Zach just steals the show. And I think he just overall, like, Shia's return to form.
Yeah.
Shia, like, showing that he's, like, such a good actor.
It's the same thing that I said about Sandler. Like, he can act.
Yeah, I mean, this and Honey
This
Boy.
and Honey Boy have proven that.
Yeah,
like,
this was like the year for comebacks to an extent. Like, Keanu's getting way more work.
yeah.
Sandler got that. Shia got this and Honey Boy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's just such a good year. I think the movie overall is great. I think Dakota Johnson
Yeah.
is really good, which is a surprise. Which she was also in
The
Knives Out.
Was she in Knives Out? The only thing I can think of that she was particularly noteworthy for was the 50 Shades trilogy, I thought.
That's what I was saying. Maybe I'm thinking of Bad Times or El Royale.
Okay. But, I like the Tom Sawyer-esque type story. It's very Mark Twain feeling. And you asked me about Fighting With My Family. I think this is a better pro wrestling type of film for me.
Yeah.
I think it hit those notes better for me. Granted, Fighting With My Family is a true story, and I think Paige is a great wrestler. I wish she could wrestle again, but she has problems with her back and stuff, and I feel for her. But the character Saltwater Redneck and how much it inspired Zach in the film to want to be a wrestler. I was like, almost any wrestler and any fan can relate to that. So when I watched that, I was like, yeah, you go be a wrestler, dude. Like,
right, and I think like the emotion for it. My only problem is the ending. I don't feel like it lands super well.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a plane that, like, as it's coming down, it hits the runway and stumbles a little bit. I mean, it's solid.
Yeah, I can understand
but
that.
it's like it's a bumpy ride to get there. Only because there's just a few things I'm like.
It just sort of ends.
Yeah,
like,
and like I feel like part of it. I won't get into it because I don't want to ruin it. But I feel like that's if. But I think for me, what really drove it home and what drives home the emotion is not that it impacts me, but we saw the movie, and there was a Down syndrome kid, the row behind us, just crying his eyes out at the end of it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that just, like, really hit me of, like, this shows that anybody can do anything they set their mind to. And that's the point of the movie.
He's going to be at the Academy Awards to present something. I can't remember what, but he's one of the people presenting. And I'm like, I'm really glad that he gets to be there. Because, like, to me, I thought he was good enough to be a Best Supporting Actor. Like, I genuinely did.
That's one of those hard things where I don't know if I would agree with that. But
yes, please.
I mean, like, I think he was good. I don't know if supporting actors would I give him, which is unfair because, like, but I think it's just case by case. So that was my number 4. What's yours?
My number 4 was Marriage Story, which we've talked about. I think all the performances in that movie are great. We didn't talk about the kid, who I thought actually did really well. I feel like he's gonna go places. Again, like the longer takes and things like that. Like, Marriage Story is just really fun. I recommend anybody watch it. If you have a Netflix subscription, you can very easily log on to Netflix and watch that movie. I think whatever awards it wins are justified, even if it wins like everything. If it somehow swept, I'd be like, this movie is good enough to deserve that recognition, and I'm glad that Netflix has gone from something like Bird Box that a lot of people felt like they didn't like.
Yeah, I feel like this year...
And then Netflix was like, okay, we can do better.
Well, I feel like Roma was the first step.
Yeah,
and then Roma this year they did 3 movies that knocked out of the park. And then next year they've got... Or this year, I've heard they've got some major stuff.
They've got...
Yeah, 2 Popes, Irishman, and Marriage Story. And Dolomite is my name. That was another one. All 4 of those were for Golden Globes. So, like, 4 of the 10 movies.
Right. Netflix was, like, really dedicated to their craft of being like, no, we can be a film studio. Yeah. Like, they're not just a streaming service.
To be fair, some of those were already movies that were being made. They just paid.
But, like, they're a distributor now.
Yeah.
Like, of legitimate film. And I'm glad that the Academy is recognizing that. Instead of being like, well, it wasn't like a theatrical release movie.
Which you still have to release in theaters, though. And all these movies did. Like, Marriage Story, Irishman are both playing around us.
Yeah.
But, so you're number 4.
My number 4 is Joker. So
that is an honorable mention.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised. Did you put it...
No.
I'm really surprised, actually.
I think it's a good film, but without Joaquin Phoenix, it does not work.
But I don't think that's fair to be like, that's the case. I think Joaquin Phoenix is really well.
Hard. Yeah, that's really
hard.
I
think it's, the movie you get is what you're judging.
Yeah, right. The problem is everybody's like, his acting is just so great that they're almost overlooking everything else.
Right.
The other elements of the film. You talk about how dark it is. You talk about... Obviously, there's not really good supporting actors, or
Right.
I mean,
De Niro's the
is
closest,
good.
and he does okay. But
well,
it's like
what I mean by that is they don't have very much focus on the supporting actors, I should say.
Right,
Because they're going over his life.
It's a character
Yeah.
study of the Joker.
Yeah. So, but I really liked it, and when you get that much, I'm not a huge fan of super dark movies, but I like to think, and I like the motion.
Yeah,
coming out. And-
we said it several times on this show that this was going to be a thought-provoking movie,
Yeah.
and I still think that.
I'm still
and I think-
surprised it hit $1 billion.
Yeah, I think that the mental health element of the film is still really telling for
Yeah.
getting people
Right.
to discuss.
I think the message and what the movie represents are powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, just the performance alone, and it's such a unique kind of film, and
Yeah.
you're going through it, and
I mean,
it's so intense.
It's got some elements of older films around that time in like the
Yeah.
early 80s, like Taxi Driver and Raging Bull.
Yeah.
It's definitely got
the
some
world
feel
around
from
him
those.
is so dark.
Right.
They did so well with building the world around him
Yeah,
too. Not
Gotham feels
if you
more
had
like a slum
any if
than
you
it ever
had any
has.
errors within it,
Yeah.
Phoenix's performance covers those errors.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
think-
hard to see through that because it's so much focuses on him.
I think
but there's so much
almost
that
our
we talk
entire
about
audience has seen Joker.
Yeah.
What was your favorite scene in Joker?
Well, we agreed not to spoil anything.
We did? Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Because there's a certain scene that for me, I'm just like, this is the scene that for me, I was like, this was really good.
I think for me, the problem, and this sounds kind of weird, so I'm trying to word this in a way that doesn't. I think for me, my problem with Joker is that if you don't know that Batman's coming one day to stop him, that it glorifies
Yeah, I
that
agree.
violence, and that I think becomes part of my problem of why it wouldn't be my top 10 of that. I think the message is very disjointed. I do agree that it is about mental health, and if he had help, if the system hadn't just let him fall
Yeah.
through the cracks.
But
It almost is like trying to justify everybody
The
in
hard
the film that he...
the hard
took
part
revenge
they're dealing
against.
with is they want to tell his story. So if you're going to have the whole, I agree with you for the most part, but everybody knows Batman is going to be there.
Right, and that's what I
But
said.
that's
I said,
only because it's a Joker movie.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
this was
but
not about the Joker...
If Batman did not exist and this is the first movie or first representation, there was no comics, nothing, and it was just about the Joker, then I would agree with you. But everybody's no matter where you're at in the movie, you know Batman's there. They even mentioned they have.
well, you see Bruce, who's young.
Yeah.
But, like, and that's why I said, granted, that doesn't take away from, like,
But I think, and some people will be like, "Oh, they didn't need to put Bruce in there as baby," but I
I
love
think
it.
I think they had to. I think you had to be like,
Yeah, but
You have to
you made that
show
connection.
people this ties together.
because
And
one day
like-
he will be stopped, and that's
Right.
and I think that's their selling point of like, because if not, you glorify.
Well, and the other thing is we always talk about Heath Ledger, but like Phoenix, dang, you know.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I think they're two distinct performances because...
I agree, but I'm just saying he had this thing where everybody's like, "Oh, Heath Ledger's the best Joker" and all this, which I still agree with that.
If
but
Batman was in this movie, do you think that Joaquin would be as recognized as a great Joker?
I don't.
Or do you think... Because it wouldn't be as much of a character study on the Joker, I think.
Well, no, because he has to react to Batman.
yeah,
right.
this is different. You're talking about
This is a different thing
This
is-
altogether.
Is he would be
even
more
the-
reactive to
Is he
Batman
even the
trying to fight him.
Joker that like Batman will one day fight, or is he just the one inspiring the
I
next
think
Joker?
he started to evolve at the very end, though, and those actions started coming out,
Yeah.
and that's where Batman starts fighting him, is because he starts actually acting out,
Yeah.
right.
and
It-
so if you had a
He's the
Joker
un-
two,
He's the unreliable narrator too.
yeah. If,
So
you,
it's
if
like-
you had a Joker 2, which I hope they never do anything, which
There's been rumors.
now and you said it would never happen, and I was like, oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well,
and then
I
it
just
happened.
said,
he'll
well,
do it.
but I said he'd never do it because I didn't think they'd make $1 billion. I did not think it'd
I
make
feel
so
like
much
they're
money
almost-
that Warner Brothers would throw whatever
But
they had to.
either way, if they have the second one or whatever they do with it, and his actions start, he starts
But we're
building,
talking about it here and now.
building it now.
Yeah.
Then if he starts building it, then I think it starts getting more crazy, and you do get a Batman character in there. Then I think people won't recognize his acting as much, just because Batman
Yeah,
will
I
have to
think-
still show some.
I think it won't be as special to people.
Yeah,
Like,
but they're going
but-
to refer back to the first movie
Right.
as the base.
But
So,
if you look at it, I don't know why we're discussing this, but if you looked at like Dark Knight, everyone talks about Heath Ledger over Christian Bale. Like Heath Ledger acts circles around.
Yes.
I think that would come even if he didn't die.
Yeah, well, I agree, but Batman already had his base.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
But I mean, every Batman's always had their base, so like.
Yeah, but he had one shot to do the villain. Christian Bale, he's already was established at that point. So that would be why Heath Ledger was even more highlighted. Yeah. And the Joker is just unpredictable. I mean, and I think part of it is why Phoenix and Heath Ledger have such good performances is because it's more centralized around the Joker's actions. And the Joker has such a strong background, and a very rich and unpredictable background, and people love that. So I think even the character itself helps sell both their performances. Not underrating that both of them did a great job doing it. But I think that the character itself, it's like Bane. I mean, he doesn't have that much of a background compared to the Joker or any other villain or whatever, and that's why it's so much harder to build up to that.
Right. And I think it's just one of those things that, like, it's going to be to each their own. Like, I thought Joker was good, and I know that I'm going to get some flack on something else later, but I think it's good.
So what's your number 3?
Parasite.
Mine is 2.
Parasite is, and I'll say this now, I think one of the top 10 films of the decade. I saw it a couple months ago, and then I watched it again last night because I needed to confirm again before we did this how I felt about it. And
it was very good.
It is a masterpiece.
I thought I knew where it was going, and it took me in a completely different direction.
You will never know.
I was so satisfied that it did.
And we went in, I went in pretty blind. I'm pretty sure you did as well. I'm pretty sure everyone who watched this last night.
I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Because when you reviewed it earlier on our show, like, you were just like, I don't really want to say anything because it'll spoil it. And like,
I feel like there's no way to describe this movie.
No.
But the acting is really well. And he said it when he won his award for Best Foreign Film. If you can get over the 1-inch hump that is reading subtitles, you'll be in for a treat. And you are in for a treat.
Yes. I could not believe that a movie could be that well made.
Right, I know. And watching it again, I'm like, the dialogue is so strong, how they interact with each other. Even through the language barrier, I still get all the emotion,
I felt everything.
all the impact. Yeah. Like, everything the movie tries to give you, you get.
All the performances are strong. Like, everyone.
Even the mom,
I think...
the names are... I can't remember the names. But the names of the mom of the rich family...
Yeah.
I just love her performance so much, how over the top it is, and like how simple it is, and it's just like so. I think the movie just nails it. And the first couple minutes, you could be like, "What's gonna happen?"
The first 20 or 30 minutes, I was like, I think I know what's happening, and this isn't really something that I'm all about.
Yeah, I know. I know.
But then there's a good. I want to say not even 20 minutes later, and then it becomes something completely different.
Well, the movie goes through so many different shifts, and that's why he said when they were like, well, what genre would you put it? He's like, I wouldn't. And I agree. It's a comedy, it's a drama, it's a thriller.
A mystery.
It's got so many different things that just happen in the movie that, it's just so weird and wild that this movie exists.
I was blown away. I already want to watch it again.
Yeah, I wasn't. That's the thing that I liked this time. I'm like, I could watch that again now. But watching it the first time, I was like, I don't know. And then, but watching it again and getting to sit there and take everything in and know what happens, I was like, okay, I do genuinely enjoy this movie.
We watched it with how many people?
There's
last
a few.
Night? 8
I don't
or
know.
9?
Yeah.
I don't know. But, all of us were hooked. Everyone was. Nobody was, distracted or...
Yeah, I mean, you get a few jokes here and there from people, but,
everyone... nobody was, not paying attention because it wasn't in English.
Yeah.
Which was the big thing that the director said. If you can get over having to read the subtitles, you will enjoy this movie. And I agree. And I wouldn't even disagree that that's not one of the best films of the decade. I'd say it's probably up there.
We'll talk about it in a couple minutes. I wish it would win Best Picture. I don't think it will, but that's just, where it is. I understand why it won't, but
it's very good.
Number 3.
My number 3 is Knives Out.
Okay.
If Rocket Man wasn't there, the top 3 were really hard for me.
I think we're about to agree on number 2 then.
Yeah, we should. If that movie's not in there,
me and him are because I don't know what you are. I forgot what you put.
But, yeah. So, anyways, my number. We basically talked about
that.
Number 2 is Jojo
Rabbit.
Yes, that's
number That's my number one.
Okay.
Oh, okay, good. I was
So
about to say-
we'll talk about JoJo, then you can do your number one, and then I'll talk about my number one and we can end.
Okay.
So Jojo Rabbit.
Yep.
This was
Yeah.
my number one film for a while. It took
Yeah.
again a lot of just like me weighing things. I'm like, well,
Yeah, Rocket. See, after we watched JoJo, and I was like, oh, it was so good, and
Yeah.
I didn't think it was gonna be that like good.
I thought Taika was gonna make. I thought it was gonna be like as good as The Hunt for the Wilder People.
but,
Something's
you
like
know,
an
the
8.
well, in the advertisements, you just see the humor side,
Yeah.
and you don't
Right.
see as much seriousness.
Right.
And
So,
that's
like,
a weird.
I think for a
level
lot
to
of people,
mess
they were
with.
like, I don't want to see a movie that's
Yeah.
making fun of this situation.
Yeah.
But they do such a good job of showing you, essentially, this main character is idolizing Adolf to the point
Yeah.
where, like, he's almost brainwashed by, like, the propaganda and
Well,
stuff.
and
And they
that's-
show that at the beginning.
Right,
Like,
and that's how a lot of
people
kids
touching
were.
Hitler's hands and stuff like that and worshiping him.
He was
with
the
real footage.
Beatles.
And-
For,
Yeah.
And you see all these World War II films. You see all these other depictions of
You
everything.
never see it
But
from
you-
the
of
perspective.
well, first from a kid
and had comedy elements.
in a comedy element, but this was a
And-
whole different perspective. But you still see the effects of what World War II and all
Yeah.
the victims that were part of it, and you get that whole roundabout way, but
There's
in a
so many
fresh,
good
new
themes
perspective.
going
And
on. Like,
with World War II almost being 100 years, or 80 years ago
80
or
years
whatever,
ago.
that you. That it gets kind of old from like, okay, we all get what happens, and
We've had
it's
what,
sad.
almost. You can almost do a genre of World War II films.
Oh, I'm sure there's
Like,
at least
there's
a
at
solid
least-
50 films that
Yeah.
are based off of it, besides documentaries.
Right.
So for me, I came out there and I was just happy that I was.
It was still
I
a
was-
fresh perspective on the
Well,
time
and
period.
we saw it very early, and it just slowly built
Yeah.
up, and it finally the word got spread around. Because I think it was a very undervalued movie when it came out.
I think,
Yeah.
and that was the thing. We saw it at its very limited release, and then
Yeah.
it like
And
slowly
it
started
slowly
playing
started
more.
climbing the
But like
ranks.
there were several people in our group who I know had never heard about the movie and had no desire to
Yeah.
see it, but we talked and going, and all of us.
And it's such a
walked out
weird
together.
title too that you're like, oh, it's just one of those.
Why is
weird,
it called
like,
Jojo Rabbit,
yeah.
but it's about World War II?
Yeah.
Like,
Because his nickname is JoJo.
Yeah, I
Rabbit.
know,
But I
but
mean,
like-
like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and that's like, I agree. I think the title's dumb, but I don't know what else you'd call it without being like, Adolf Hitler is my best friend. Watch all
yeah,
Everyone's
like,
like,
I think for
my
a lot
friend
of
Hitler. Oh man, what a missed
friend
time.
Hitler.
Yeah, what a missed time.
I
to do
think
that.
a lot of people, when they saw the trailer and they saw that Hitler was being portrayed in a comedic light, they were like, I can't watch this.
Yeah, I know
Like,
there
it's
is.
an uncomfortable thing for people. But, like, by the end, like, in a way, Hitler is used almost to describe what's going on in the rest of the world with how he's acting
Right, and
towards the child.
And I think
like,
his view and how his relationship with Hitler, which
Right.
sounds so weird, changed
Because-
through the movie. Is
Yep.
through
As he
his like
learns
as he
more
learns
I
about
love the development.
the world,
Yeah.
I love the development.
how Hitler gets more and more aggressive,
and he's more like what Hitler actually was as a
it's
person.
kind of like
by
how
the
you
end.
like. This could go either way. This isn't my case, but like how you could like see your parents, your grandparents, or like family members who, when you're a child, you're like, I love them. They're perfect. They've never done anything wrong.
They've never done anything
But
wrong.
as you get older and wiser, you're like,
Or
People
you
make
see
mistakes.
It,
People are
or you
flawed.
or you see the other way where you think they're stupid and they don't know what they're talking about, but then you respect
yeah,
that.
which is the movie. It's the balance
Yeah,
of both that.
yeah.
Granted, I'm not saying to the point where like you still love them because like they're family.
We haven't even
but-
talked about like the main actress, the other child actor. Like she's just as
Yeah,
well.
the boy does really well. He was up for Best Actor at the Golden Globes,
Yeah,
which I think was well deserved. I think he and her are going places. Scarlett Johansson knocks out the park.
yeah.
Sam Rockwell.
The fact
and,
that she's nominated for Best Actress in Marriage Story and Best Supporting Actress
in JoJo Rabbit, it just shows like
that rarely happens.
yeah.
And I'm like, if she won both, that would be incredible.
She won't, but
I
I'm
don't
glad
think
that
she
she's
will.
up for both.
Yeah, I think she's well deserved. The scene with her. In the
Yeah,
movie,
everything that's happening with her is just so powerful.
Yeah,
like,
when she
the scene where she pretends to be the dad is
pretends to be the dad is
that
really
one
good.
hit me.
Yeah.
That one really did, and
Yeah.
you realize where the dad's actually like.
Yeah.
You figure out like what's going on. And,
Yeah,
and
Sam
the kid
Rockwell
doesn't see it
too,
at all.
like,
It's just so sad.
Sam Rockwell also does a very great
yeah,
job. in
all the
movie.
CCs and I love them.
They're either really funny or really emotionally
Yeah,
driven.
my only weakest point is Rebel Wilson. She still does good.
Yeah, I don't feel like
But
she
I-
was needed.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, I get it to an extent, but I'm kind of tired.
She's kind of a fill-in,
Yeah.
comedic relief add on.
But I feel like
they
she
didn't
was
need that.
she was
wasn't
more on the
needed.
side of the Nazis, where but
It's
But so let's start bringing this home. So Zach, you're number 1.
That was my number 1. Was
Okay, so
Jojo
what's your
Rabbit.
number 2?
My number 2 was Peanut Butter Falcon.
Okay.
And we already talked about that, so...
So my number 1 is Endgame. I
Yeah.
said I'm very biased on this because for me,
and let's end on Endgame because mine was Rocket Man, so I'm done with mine.
Well,
so yours
yeah.
yours
Yeah.
is it.
for me, and the reason why I want to separate is that for Endgame represents the MCU as a
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah.
Whether or not you continue with it after, I understand because I feel like it is a good ending point. Like if you want to be
Right.
like, I'm done here. I don't need to see Black Widow. I don't need to watch any of the Disney Plus stuff, Eternals, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Endgame for me represents something more than a film because
Yeah.
Avengers is what
That's why I
helped
don't
moved the superhero
have it.
genre to pop culture level. It moved nerdom up like Star Wars did back in the 80s. Avengers did that again now, where you see so many people walking around now with anime T-shirts, with superhero T-shirts, with video game. It's all over the place. And granted, you can say certain things did certain things. Like you can say that video games helped. You can say that like movies are what helped push the comic book sales. If you look at like comic book statistics after Avengers and then up towards Endgame, I mean for me, I think though it is like a perfect culmination of everything that happened. Like it is a 3-hour victory lap that I watch again and again and enjoy. Like I still remember cheers and cries that night when Cap picks up the shield, when Iron Man snaps, the funeral, like all those big moments. I like still get chills watching them. So, like, for me, it's my number 1. It's the most biased. So, technically, like, if we wanted to be, like, correct, this is the top 11, and you could just put Marriage Story, or you could put Booksmart or Just Mercy there at 11. But, like, that, I think it's just so, like, unfair for me to not say that Avengers is my number 1.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. So, that concludes our top 10 of 2019. So, I know it's, a month out, but... let's see. What were we gonna?
We're gonna do our Oscar predictions just so it's on here. But all I'm gonna do is you should have gotten an email with what you picked.
Yeah.
I didn't get one, but I have the list pulled up anyway.
Okay, I'm gonna read off mine, and if you just remember what you picked, we can just say.
Yeah, I have it.
So starting with Best Picture. Okay, so how this is done is I'm not gonna name the points, but they'll give out a point system. So whoever has the most points at the end will win. So Best Picture for me, I chose 1917.
So did I.
Hold on. Pulling this up.
I didn't get the email for some reason, so I just hit back.
Best Picture, I actually put Joker.
Okay.
Okay.
Best Director, I put Sam Mendes for 1917.
I also did.
I did Bong Joon-ho for Parasite.
Which, like I said, if he won for that and Parasite, I would be totally okay and be fine with taking whatever punishment.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I just think it'll be interesting. Lead actor, I put Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah,
I did too.
Lead actress, I did Renee Zellweger.
I did Scarlett Johansson.
I also did Scarlett Johansson.
I just think, it's weird that it's up here, and this is how it was last year with Helen Mirren, or who I think somebody won who like from a movie that was not nominated for anything else but that. So
yeah, I can see that.
Supporting actor, I chose Brad Pitt.
I chose Tom Hanks.
I chose Tom Hanks.
Supporting actress, I did Laura Dern.
So did I.
did Scarlett Johansson.
Which I will not be surprised. Literally, if any of these win, I will not be surprised.
No, I almost said Kathy
No one
Bates.
wins.
Documentary, I did The Edge of Democracy.
So did I.
I did American Factory.
I've heard good things about American Factory. I just was like, these are
I haven't seen any of them.
those are the only two I heard of, so I was like, I'll just pick this. For
Yeah.
animated feature, I did Klaus, even though I think that's not going to win.
I picked Toy Story 4.
So did I.
I think it's going to be Missing Link.
Probably. Didn't it win Golden Globe?
It did. Foreign language film, I did Parasite because it's not going to win Best Picture, so I picked
I said
did.
Parasite. I almost
did.
picked...
Less Miserable.
Les Miserables.
Yeah, Miserable.
I almost picked Pain and Glory.
Which I
because
could
I've
see.
heard
I've
good
heard that's
things
really
about, but I've seen Parasite, and I will fully support that movie as best I can.
Yeah, adapted screenplay, I did Jojo Rabbit.
I also did JoJo.
Which
I did Joker.
I think it's going to go to Greta Gerwig after looking at this again. Because she did not. Everyone feels like she was robbed. I take it or leave it, but I think that's what they'll give her. Original screenplay, I did Parasite.
I did Knives Out.
I did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay.
Sound awards, I did original score Joker.
I did John Williams.
Yep.
That was I debated that because I feel like this would be like a legacy thing.
That's what
but
I'm.
I wouldn't be surprised if like in a couple of years.
Some of these awards are just political, or not necessarily political.
They
but
are.
Just
They're
set,
yeah.
just set up for some
sound
people.
editing. I did Ford versus Ferrari.
I did Joker.
I said 1917.
Sound mixing, I did 1917, but I feel like Ford versus Ferrari, just the sound of like when they're racing and like every time they're driving, I feel like
Honestly, I
did Joker for sound mixing.
I did Joker because we said, we really don't know what the exact.
I just guessed Ford versus Ferrari thinking of that.
I
but
feel like
did,
if I could pick Joker twice, I have good chances of getting one of them.
Yeah,
so.
I did 1917 and Ford versus Ferrari.
I did 1917 and then Joker.
Original song, I did I'm Gonna Love You Again.
I also did
I'm
that.
Gonna Love Me Again, I did that too.
If that does not win, I'm going to be pissed.
Cinematography, I made a mistake, but I voted for The Lighthouse.
I did 1917.
I should have voted for 1917.
Film editing, I did Ford versus Ferrari.
I did Parasite.
I did Parasite as well.
Okay.
Production design, I did Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo.
1917.
Makeup and hair, I did Joker.
Joker.
Maleficent.
Okay, costume design, I did Little Women.
I said Jojo.
Joker.
Visual effects, I picked Endgame.
I picked Endgame
also
as
picked
well.
Endgame.
Animated shorts, I did Kit Bull, because that's the only one I've seen. That's the
I did
Pixar one.
Sister.
Documentary short subject, I did St. Louis Superman.
I did Learning to Skateboard in a War Zone.
I did think that was a cool title, so I was like, maybe I should pick that. And last thing I did is live action short, which I did Brotherhood.
I did A Neighbor's Window.
Yep, I did Brotherhood as well.
And then the
And
tiebreaker.
then the tiebreaker,
I guess 103.
I added up the ages of all my actors and actresses, and it is 195. So, if all of mine are right, I will
What
win.
4 did you pick?
I picked Joaquin, Laura Dern,
Tom Hanks and...
Tom Hanks.
Oh, I thought it was just 2.
No, it's combining all 4.
Oh, well, I picked 95. There's no way.
Yeah.
That means they'd be under 25
They have
years
to
old.
be under 25 years old for each of them. I was like, why is this number so low?
You didn't do very good on that.
Yeah,
Zach's won the tiebreaker. If that was,
Yeah!
But
I misread that. I thought it was just the top 2 on each.
I was sitting there for so long, I was like, I'm just going to put 100 and something.
Okay, well, yeah, that should have been like 190 or something like that. So good.
But, so that's to close out our episode. Thank you for listening. We will decide a punishment later. The 2 lowest scores will suffer the punishment.
Yeah.
They get a date night to some awful movie.
Yeah, and then
there'll be some bad movie.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out.
Next episode will be Cats, and kind of talking about some video games 2019, but I've got a lot to say.
We don't get to talk about Cats today.
We gotta wrap it up.
I know.
I got a lot to say about the One Piece Netflix series, and I want to make sure that I've taken some time. But thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Subscribe to everything we have. Bye!
Yeah, bye.